Welcome back. Nigeria has begun fulfilling her promise of evacuating hundreds and thousands stranded abroad due to the coronavirus pandemic. Many citizens have expressed interest in returning home under guidelines put out by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The ministry says over 4,000 Nigerians are waiting to be evacuated across the world.
The first set of evacuees came from the United Arab Emirates, 256 in number, via an Emirates flight. They had been expected to have arrived earlier, but had to return after one of the passengers went into labor. She was later delivered of a baby girl in the United Arab Emirates.
Mother is sort of doing great. She's in very high spirits and she's grateful to Nigeria and Nigerians for all the show of love and support. I have been telling her that Nigerians have seen her different things, and she was quite excited about that and laughed about it. The Nigerian ambassador really has been in touch with her, in Dubai, with her and keeping in touch with her. So she's great and in very high spirits. On her return home, she has to reschedule her flight. She has to document her baby's birth certificate and all the necessary documentation as required in the UAE before she reschedules her flight. So her flight will be rescheduled.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Jeffrey Onyama, says a bidding process had decided what airline would bring the citizens home and that the Emirates airline evacuating Nigerians had nothing to do with the government. The government of the UAE had decided to repatriate foreigners to various countries, not just Nigeria. Nigerians had spontaneously, without any reference to the Nigerian government, started buying tickets. As for the flight that brought Nigerian citizens from the United Kingdom, it was already scheduled to come to Nigeria to repatriate British nationals in the country.
It's been, none of us has had any practice at this. Thankfully, I might say. It's not every year that we've had challenges like this. So it's a learning curve, for all of us. And a lot of us are having to do things that are outside our comfort zone and off the beaten track for us. We've been very mindful of, the costs to the passengers coming home. We've tried as much as possible to minimize, the burden on them, appreciating that a lot of them have stayed out for much longer than they've needed to or wanted to.
Among requirements for the evacuees is the compulsory 14-day quarantine. The minister gave reasons why those coming from the UK will be quarantined in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, rather than in Lagos, and what happens after.
Abuja offers us better economy in terms of hotel rates, and then we also just have more hotels here, and it's better to manage here in Abuja for the officials, and it's generally a more congenial environment and better, we feel. So our strengths are more here. So, but we appreciate that a number of the passengers would prefer to go to Lagos, but we just don't have the facilities available to us in Lagos. So we're having to divert the flight, or at least ferry the passengers from Lagos to Abuja, and we would just ask them to bear with us, for this for 2 weeks. We will make arrangements to facilitate the return to Lagos of those who need to be.
Some have criticized the process of evacuation.
The evacuation of Nigerians from the UK, initiated by the federal government, is quite a laudable thing. But in my opinion, I have this very strange and strong feeling that this very particular policy, the plan in itself, was not actually thought out and thought through properly. And I'm saying this for one simple reason. And the reason is this. when we actually look at the level of facilities we have on ground in Nigeria, particularly in the major cities, to do with testing, to do with preparations, to do with where people who are maybe found to be positive with COVID-19. When we look at many of these facilities, I'm not very clear and sure that we have enough facilities to be able to deal with the number of people actually coming from the UK and other parts of the world.
Meanwhile, 250 British nationals have left Nigeria from the United Kingdom on a special return charter organised between the UK and the Nigerian government. It will be the 8th repatriation flight organised by the British High Commission for Britons wanting to return from Nigeria, since all airports in Nigeria are closed to international commercial flights. The British High Commission says it has been working with the Nigerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Aviation, the FCT, the Nigerian High Commission and the Lagos State authorities to arrange all of the flights. And the UK will continue to work closely with the Nigerian government in not just fighting the coronavirus, but building a better future for Nigeria. Finally, on Sunday, 160 Nigerians returned to Nigeria, landing in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. We understand they were given test kits on the plane, which they will use once they get to the isolation center.
We've been reporting on countries around the globe easing lockdown restrictions and what impact that could have. We've seen a rise in the number of cases here in Nigeria and now in Germany and some other parts of the world.
Official data shows the number of infections in Germany are rising, days after the country eased its lockdown restrictions. According to the Robert Koch Institute, Germany's reproduction rate, the number of people each confirmed patient infects, is now above 1, meaning that the number of infections is now rising in the country. The report came as thousands of Germans gathered on Saturday calling for a total end to the lockdown. Peru has no plans to ease the lockdown and even extended it on Friday as the country's coronavirus death toll edged closer towards 2,000. President Martin Vizcarra says police and soldiers will be deployed to the streets to enforce the quarantine as the country struggles to flatten its pandemic curve. The Spanish government says the cities of Madrid and Barcelona will not pass to the next phase of the exit from the lockdown imposed in mid-March. The government is enacting a 4-phase exit from the lockdown depending on measures like the rate of infection in regions. The second stage allows bars, restaurants and places of worship to open with limited capacity. Neither the region of Madrid nor the Barcelona metropolitan areas were deemed ready to loosen restrictions further. South Korea has had to pull back on reopening nightclubs and bars after a small outbreak emerged around a slew of nightclubs that a confirmed patient visited. At least 54 cases have been identified in connections to clubs in a neighborhood popular with Koreans and foreigners in the capital. The outbreak prompted Seoul City to impose an immediate temporary shutdown of all night entertainment facilities on Saturday after KCDC officials said they were tracking about 1,900 people who have gone to the clubs, which could be increased to 7,000, asking anyone who was there last week to self-isolate for 14 days and be tested. And in Switzerland, parents are wary about their kids resuming school in the classroom, saying there are still many unanswered questions. Swiss schools began reopening on May 11th, and parents want answers, especially with the new disease presenting symptoms similar to Kawasaki disease or toxic shock-like syndrome that killed 3 children in the US on Friday, while also testing positive for COVID-19 or related antibodies.
That's the program this week. As usual, I look forward to hearing from you. The addresses to reach us are on your screen. I am Amarachi Ubani. Thanks again for watching.